Leave me alone.
I have Pluto in the first. I will be intense. Yeah.
Venus and Scorpio and Pluto in the first. I will be intent. Today we will be talking about some of our favorite topics of, that come around for Libra rising. I'm so happy to be talking today with Marjorie Cotrell. Did I say it right?
Yeah.
Marjorie. I'm sure
Yep.
you get that all the time.
Yes. Everyone's like, you know, Taylor has a song about your name. And I'm like, yes, I do. It's about her grandmother. And I was also named after my grandmother, Marjorie.
Oh
So,
my gosh, I love that.
yeah.
That's so interesting. And so just because we are talking about this, I know your sun is an early degrees Cancer, correct?
Yes.
And I believe Taylor's moon is an early degrees Cancer. I mean, we
I
don't have a
think you're
birth
right.
time, but it's like right around there. And so I love that connection. That
Yeah. I never even thought of that part. Yes.
Yeah. I'm going to pull up just one slide. To me, one of my favorite things about that made me remind what Libra was about in when we're talking about light and dark is the actual symbol right here that we have, right, of this the sim of the Libra sign. And the sign of Libra essentially is the evening sun below the horizon. And I would love to hear your what you have to say as you're one of our year one teachers, about this, when it comes to Libra and the taking over of darkness,
Hmm.
right? And how in the equinox, there's date and light. Date and light are equal, and right when the sun enters Libra, we know the sun is in its fall in Libra. And so the nights begin to grow longer than the day, and the darkness overtakes the light. So it's, when we're looking at it from that point of view, it's a threshold where things begin to turn into decay and endings, right? And so when I was first learning astrology, it was just really easy to just point out, right? The symbol of the setting sun, oh, that's Libra. And it just made sense that you have the horizon line right here and the sun, you could see it setting in the horizon line. So yeah.
You said it so beautifully, and those lessons that you're referencing in Nightlight in year one, where Adam really takes us through the path of the sun and what is happening during each, each month of the zodiac, basically. It's so simple at its core that so it's so beautifully simple and speaks to what we're all feeling and what we're experiencing during this time of the year. So, the turning point of the season, Libra season, a cardinal sign where we usher in the fall and we're moving towards the darkness. Now, as somebody who is a Cancer sun, this is a topic that you may not think, but it's really near and dear to my heart because as a Cancer sun who was born just after the solstice, the brightest light of the year, it is a time where I feel very comfortable and radiant, and I love that time of year. But inside of that Cancer knowing is that here we go. The descent of the sun begins. We're moving back. Now that we've reached our peak, we're moving back into the darkness. And the Cancer season really makes me think of we have flowers now, we have bounty, we have sun, we have all these things, and I want to share them with you. But we need to dry these herbs. We need to save them and savor them and use these calendula leaves to make a salve for our dry hands once winter comes. So I feel like people born under a Cancer sun or with strong Cancer traits may really understand Libra in kind of a roundabout way where it's about the cyclic nature of life. And we sure the light is out, but we are moving back towards the darkness. And then here we are again at Libra season. Now the descent has ramped up a little bit and we really are moving into the darkness. So I think about this and then I think about the other themes of diplomacy and idealism and people pleasing and how like I wonder, okay, they're both true, but like kind of try to mesh out how they fit together and how they work together. And when things are being destructed, or falling apart or falling away, having your, your thoughts on what is ideal, or making sure people are working together to, you know, to not everybody lose their shit at once. So everybody can work together as we move into the darker part of the year and the inevitable time of going inward. And the other piece of this, I think that you may also really connect with, that speaks deeply to me as well, is the fact that we have Pluto in the first house. So Pluto in the first house is a planet that speaks to depth and intensity, um, in the house of identity, where all Libra risings, will feature the house of identity in their rising sign. um, when we see this combination together, it makes me think of people that have depth. They have many layers within themselves. And as, each harvest comes, as each shedding comes, as each falling away comes, so too does this, you know, disappearing of these personas that are no longer serving somebody. And there's a willingness to shed parts of ourselves that are no longer serving us. We don't fit anymore. A reinvention of self can be ushered in as many times as necessary to get to the authentic piece of oneself. And then to kind of bring this back around to the people pleasing, I find that this may initially be about pleasing others, but I'm starting to have a new understanding of this. Pluto in the first can be about pleasing oneself. So that's my kind of take on moving into the darkness.
I love how you put that. See, I knew you were gonna say something brilliant. And I never thought about when you were talking about Cancer, right, with the flowers, and it is a taking over, right, of light in Cancer season, and where sometimes I think we tend to think as Virgo as the harvest, but it's in the fall, right? And it is Virgo handing over to Libra, and it is that time too in wine country where that's when all the harvesting is happening. So there's like I love how there is this like light and dark with each what do you call it, with each of the cardinal, I should say, not the cardinal, not the, yeah, cardinal signs,
Yeah.
essentially. As a Libra rising, I love one-on-one connections. I'm sure you do. Like that's
Same.
like I love groups. But I really, really enjoy when it's one-on-one. I feel like I really can get really connect with people. I don't know. Like
And you can go deeper with that. Venus and Scorpio swimming on the surface may not be super interesting, but when we can really sit with somebody and go deeper, it feels so much more meaningful and the connection is stronger.
yeah. Yeah. And I for you, like one of the things you have a Venus in Leo, correct? So in the 11th
Yep.
house, and it just shows up so beautifully. Like the first time I met you, I just remember that joy that you brought to the group.
Oh, thanks.
And yeah, no, and it was just, you were always connecting all of us. And I love how beautiful you actually could, you were able to have all these dialogues with all of us. And like the questions were just, you're always so curious. And um I know you have a Gemini
Mercury and Gemini.
Mercury, yeah.
Yeah.
And so man, that ninth house, I could just see that light up. Like
Yeah.
that's just
I am very curious. And having Venus in the 11th house has been so beneficial and supportive to me. And I have had so many amazing people, particularly women, who have kind of like put their arm around me and showed me the way, or were there for me when things weren't great, or helped me see that it's going to be okay, or there's light on the horizon. So that Venus, like shining up there in the 11th for me. And I grew up in a household of all women. My mom and my older sister, they were really trailblazers in the way that I saw if you work hard, there's possibility. So like the 11th house of like possibility has really kind of like lit my path throughout life. And now that I'm older in my 40s, I see the value of that, and I just wanna always, whether people are younger than me, the same age, or older than me, I just feel like part of my work here as Marjorie is to inspire people, and sometimes that includes glitter and rhinestones because it's in Leo, and other times it just includes, like, what is your vision for the future, and how can we talk about getting you there? So, that's how it's kinda been for me. How about you with Venus in the 2nd?
Gosh, I think because, I mean, for you, you have it in a superior sextile, right, to your ascendant. And so for me, I have it in the second house, right? So the ascendant doesn't really see itself. And because I have a full house, I've always had this, like, I don't want to say contradictory, but I've always had that. I was one of those where, um, oh, you're a Virgo sun. I just didn't feel like a Virgo sun. I always felt like a Libra because I have four planets in the first house. And so because that is where we come into, right? And how we move through the world, I tend to come in like, yes, let's go. I want to socialize. I want to do all these, experience all these things. But then there's that Venus that's in Scorpio where then says, wait a minute, let's retreat. Hold on a second. And so then there's this like, um obviously it's an aversion, but there's this like, oh my gosh, I don't really know those people. I might have overextended myself. And so there's this also need for me to take a step back. I do love the background. I love the behind the scenes. And I think that Venus and Scorpio also puts me into that, and to also where, like you said earlier, I require depth. I think where that one-on-one most, not just because I have the moon in the seventh house, opposing my ascendant, but um the Venus and Scorpio require loves that one-on-one depth. Like I'm not one like, how's the weather? Like, how's that Mars transiting your, that's kind of, I'm not that like when we joined on this call today, we just like started talking about, you know, it wasn't like it was we went right into, I think, just things depth right away. I don't know. And I think I did that just, I don't know if I did it, but it just kind of happened with us,
Mhm.
right?
Yep.
Um, but yeah, so I do tend to want that socialization, yet I love my privacy. I like, and so then sometimes I'm like, oh man, why did I say that? I shouldn't have said that. And I think that's kind of like where the aversion comes in. But I think that people that meet me right away can see my passion. I can be very passionate about things that I love, and
Mhm.
I'm an all or nothing, like, let's go, so I think, I mean, that's one way, obviously, that I have seen that it being expressed. And when we're talking more, right, on a very more modern level, right, if we're looking at the archetypes, obviously, it's very there's been a lot of transformation in my life, right? But yeah, I just when I'm looking at like as my characteristic, my personality traits, right?
Yeah, and, I love all of those insights, and particularly about that Libra stellium and, like, the "let's go" and enthusiasm. When you did your Sedna Nightlight speaker series, I absolutely adored how the intro was about magazines that have, like, shaped your life, and, your teachers, you had photos of your teachers in there, and it was such like a Libra shining moment of, here's all the pieces that kind of built me, and here's where, we're going together. It was just so, um I don't know, it made me feel so connected to you, and, like, it was kinda like a welcome, open door, here's the things that have built me up in my life, including my teachers and these teen magazines, because this is when I grew up, and I could relate because I had those same magazines, so I loved that part about you.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, I think that we all can relate with those magazines, but especially I think as Libra risings, I'm not sure how many other Libra risings, millennials, I guess, who, I think we grew up more with the magazines, right, as
Yep.
teenagers. So I feel like that was kind of all of our teachers,
Yes.
right,
Yeah.
uh, good introduction and stuff. So,
Wait,
and
Erica, I love to hear that you're calling yourself a millennial, correct?
yes.
Yes, because I too I'm born in '83, you're '81, we're what they call geriatric millennials.
Geriatric millennials or elder millennials.
Yes,
And yeah, some people do a different, will say like, oh, it's 1985. And I'm like, no, it's actually 1981. That and up, that because I don't resonate with Gen X at all.
same,
Um,
and that's how I usually they're the, research points that I use as well, and, I just think I wanted to call that out because I thought that was interesting.
yeah, I mean, okay, so maybe what I do resonate quite a bit with the Gen X is the movies.
Mhm,
The movies. Goonies,
yeah.
all those millennium movies. But also I'm a huge Harry Potter fan. Like, so, but yeah, and one other thing that since we are like starting just the topic of just the sign Libra,
Mhm,
one of the things that I remember that you and I just like started talking about and bonded on right away was musicals, right? The whole art, I think that's very much the Libra, right? The art, the artist. There's
mhm,
this art, there's other signs, right? I think that display art, but Libra definitely is the designer, right?
mhm. The
The
diplomacy through the words and, the balance between, stage presence and song and the beautiful, costumes and everything that you take in through musicals or art or visiting an art museum. Yep, that is a huge piece of the Libra rising characteristic. And also an extension of that would be where is your Venus? Where is your Venus in the chart? And that will point us to a little like help us fine tune a little more acutely what types of themes are you drawn towards and what kind of storylines and things like that. So that's always fun to
yeah,
play around with.
yeah, yeah. No, that's definitely and that Libra, the sign of Libra does, and I should say, the Libra rising, right? You move through life, or um, you and you learn, I guess you could say, through experiences, right? So,
Mhm.
like for me, Venus in the second, like I'm not a huge shopper, believe it or not. However, having Venus in the second, I'm a foodie. I will spend a lot of money on a plate.
Yeah.
Like we'll between my partner and I for two of us we'll spend a few $100s. Like we're not like we just I love to spend money on eating
Uh-huh.
experiences, right?
I love that.
Yeah, so that's one of the ways that I have, I love to
Mhm.
I do spend my money on things that last long, right? There's, I think, that fixed quality in Scorpio, which, you have that fixed quality as well in Leo.
Uh-huh.
Um, but one thing too that I have noticed about you, where you have the Libra rising with, Venus and Leo in your chart is like you always are dressed so nicely. I know,
Thanks.
lipstick always, and your earrings,
I love
and
makeup. I've been wearing
yeah,
makeup like since I was pretty young, and I think of it as like a creative expression. And my daughter, who's 11, she was like one of the younger kids who was allowed to wear makeup, like younger. And I struggled with that as a parent. And I was like, but I shared with her how it's an expression. She had a desire to do it. I didn't tell her to do it, but like she was seeing me do it. But the one way that we kind of navigated it together was I taught her how to research clean beauty products. And she knows like the environmental working group website, and she would check like, oh, I really want this, but it's got a bad rating. And I'm like, well, we got to do some research and find a comparable product. So it's not that I was just like, do whatever you want, but she has this desire also to creatively, express herself through makeup. So I support that because that has always been a really big piece of me. And in high school, I went to a Catholic school and we had to wear a uniform and everything was so like we had to wear certain shoes and I couldn't express myself through my clothes. So my makeup was always a part of the way that I was able to do that too.
As Libra risings, they always ask, so what's, you know, like what is one thing they always notice? Always something about your appearance. I think that they're always
Yeah.
saying, like, I don't know if you
Hmm.
notice that. Um,
Yeah,
yeah,
absolutely.
and like for me, when it comes to makeup, I'm not very much of a makeup person. I mean, I do some makeup. Obviously, I'm wearing, blush and some powder and some mascara, and some lip gloss, but I'm not, I never wear, lipstick. Um, I'm very, I guess you could say plain, which is kind of weird considering I have a full house, but I think when I was like in my 20s, I was definitely more into makeup, and I did the eyeshadows and the lipstick. And I
Hmm.
think in my 30s I started to just I don't know, maybe that's my Virgo sun. I'm not so sure.
It could be, or just like bearing it down to like the minimal like essentials. Yeah, it could be.
Yeah, I think you're probably right. I think it's on the minimalist part, like where I think I have become more minimalist.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, as I grow up and
And you can see it from your background. And like my background, I'm not a minimalist at all. I love like things around and books and candles everywhere. And yours is so beautifully like clean lined and earthy tones. Like I can see the Venus and Scorpio so clearly
really?
through
Okay,
this
that's cool.
through this background, and I love it.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's great. Cool. I love it. I don't know if we even talked about this, but on like the mask, no, I don't want to say the mask, but like,
Mhm.
you know, um, because the first house is how we appear.
Hmm.
What would you say, in your opinion, are some of like the generic Libra rising qualities that you see, physical qualities that
Okay,
you've
physical
noticed?
qualities. Well, takes pride in their appearance. Well, it really to me like it can be hard to chisel out without fine tuning with where Venus is. Um, but as a general rule of thumb, light like colors. I think of like pastelly like purples and teals and blues, like more easy on the eye kind of coloring can be really harmonious and fitting for Libra risings, whether it's their environment, things like accessories that they like to have around them or things like that. I don't think of like red or like brown or things like that. But of course, this is all flavored based on what else is happening in the chart at times. Um, but the other thing that I notice in myself is you can be very like charming, and sometimes I'm like, "Ooh, like I was just so Libra rising right there." And I wonder about that, about myself because I am a really friendly person. Um and I do believe, in spreading kindness, but at the same time, I guess it's just getting older. I feel a little bit more guarded, and I want to reserve my my ideas and my energy for people that I feel like have earned it at times. But it's not normal for me. Like I will go out in public and speak to everyone and ask them how they are and charm the pants off of them. And I'm like, why is this happening? And I think that it's a Libra rising thing. Do you find that about yourself?
Yeah, and it's like the one thing I think I hate about the stigma that Libra has, and they're like, "Oh, you're fake." That
Yes.
and I'm like, "No, it's not. It's cordial kindness.
Yes,
Okay. Like that's I just know how to be nice to everyone. I
yeah,
know how to be nice if I don't like you. Like that's just like
yes,
the Saturn, I
same.
think, the Saturn in Libra. And so I think that it can come off to some people maybe as fake, but to me it's like I was just always taught to be, nice to every kindness, so I
Yeah.
call it cordial kindness.
I like that phrase.
Yeah.
I don't know why I said charm the pants off people because I've never done that in my life or
I
said that.
I'm I can be very charming, very charming,
Yeah.
and then like my Virgo sun, then it's like retreat, like
Yes.
I think that you know, our rising sign shines comes through our sun, right? I think that's obviously
Yeah.
it's through the chart ruler, like that's where it expresses itself. I think like where Venus is at in our chart is
Hmm.
where our needs get met. But I feel that the Libra rising, kind of comes through the lens almost of our sun sign, right? And so I always, again, I always come out like very charming and like, yeah, let's do this. And I'm like, oh, I overcommitted. Like,
Yep. I
oh,
think it's probably the Jupiter in the first
it
as
is.
well.
Yep. Yeah. I have
Um,
Saturn, Jupiter together. So
yes.
that too.
Yeah, but see, an innate ability to see what is possible and all of this, shines right through you. Um, this all makes me think of Brene Brown's work. I think that's where I kind of get this idea of con containing like as an individual, containing our energy for those who have earned our trust. And as I raise children and help them to kind of like navigate the world and they go into school and have all these beautiful lessons on friendship and kindness, which I believe in. But the reality is, some people are really mean to people's kids, and um, teaching them how to not be mean back. You can be cordial, but also not to give the assumption that we're friends because you haven't earned my friendship.
Mm-hmm.
That this is a lot of what I think about as a Libra rising because I do believe that moving into the world from, a respectful and kind place is important and, very paramount, but I also have concerns that I come off as fake and that I'm bleeding energy in ways that could be better harnessed and used in other areas of my life, if that makes
Mm-hmm.
any sense.
Yeah, and I think too, Taylor Swift said your energy is expensive.
Yes.
It's a luxury. My energy, my time is a luxury. And so, and I think it's, that it falls, I think, into, the exaltation of Saturn in Libra, right? The Libra rising, where there's this drive to learn about ourselves, you know, uh, through others, right? And through experiences. Um, I think it's also called the mirror,
Mhm.
right? So I think that we do
Yeah.
tend to learn about ourselves. We see ourselves in others. I don't know if you ever feel that.
Yes. And absolutely. And also, I learn I've this has just happened to me the past few years, but I learn about myself through what other people reflect back to me. Like I've had a fear of public speaking, or I've had a fear of sharing my ideas. And I'm a retreat host, and in my experience, that people will come up to me and say like, oh, like, you're such an like authoritative presence, like you're gentle but we know what the rules are, and I'm like, really? Like, and it always kind of shocks me, but I think people need that container. Like, they want to know what their day's going to look like, but they want to know that they can share their authentic self at the same time. And I never saw these things about myself until people started reflecting them back to me. And finally I was just like, all right, this is what people this is what people are getting. So I need to find a way to embrace it. If I can't see it from this side of me, but people I know and love and trust are reflecting it back to me, I have to constructively use this information to proceed. So that's been kind of interesting as an adult. Um, Whereas I think when I was younger, it was more of the, and in youth, it's like, am I doing this right? And um, going out of your way to make sure everybody's okay. But now I think as the Libra rising matures, it's more of bringing balance and harmony and being your authentic self, and that infuses harmony.
Exaltation of Saturn in Libra, right? Where, and I think that you and I identify it with it more so because we have it on the ascendant. So I think that I don't want to say rigidness, but that ability to contract, to or discern.
Yeah, that's a good
Yeah,
Saturn in the
right?
first word. Yes.
Yeah.
That's very true. And actually, as you're moving into Saturn exalted in the first, this whole part of the conversation feels so Saturn exalted in the first. This, am I giving, what's the boundary? What's the threshold that I'm crossing? How much of myself am I giving away versus what am I retaining? And what am I retaining it for? Like that stuff I wonder too. A lot of it is I know when I get depleted, I can't be as effective as a mom or as a partner or anything, all these things that I value as friendships as a Libra rising. And this whole idea of Saturn in the first is such a beautiful expression of how people can dedicate themselves to cultivating inner skills. But I find that it's a slippery slope and it can quickly be turned around and you're not doing that right, or you shouldn't have said that, or all of the things, fill in the blank with whatever you want.
Yeah, it's well, it's Saturn.
Yeah.
I have a great relationship with Saturn. I've had to. I think with having it on the ascendant, and the things that I've had in life, I think I've had a built a real healthy relationship. So I'm not too scared of Saturn. Um, but because of that, I have seen that extreme of like what you're talking about, where I can tip the scales,
Mhm.
like, and I will.
Yeah, in either direction
That's
of retracting yourself or giving so much of yourself to the other. The balance is balance in every area of life is difficult.
hmm
And this one is no less.
Yeah, and I think that yeah, it's you can definitely putting Saturn in the sign of Libra of relationships, right? Relationships are not easy, and I think that that's why it's exalted,
Hmm.
right?
Yep.
Because you need it, right? And you need that Saturn in relationships. And I don't know about you, I don't know if it's my Venus and Scorpio, but I feel like it's the Libra and Saturn in Libra more so, where um I used to be a lot more social when I was younger, and I had a lot of friends. But I have like five best friends. They are like my best friends, and they are my friends from like, since three of them are from when I was 14, and we're still friends, and then the rest are from high school.
I love that.
And they're like, so those are that's very Saturn and Libra, right? Very deep relationships. And they've all been long term, and they're very deep. We don't talk all the time, but we pick up right where we left off.
Right.
But they're not a circle, if that makes any sense. They're all my
It makes
friends,
100%.
like
Yeah, I have
one
very
that
similar.
one-on-one.
Yeah.
Yeah. So like I don't have a tribe. I'm not the girl that has a lot of friends. And when you were saying like we were very picky, or it's just I understand the commitment in relationships. And I remember like when I was younger, I had all these friends. Like it's really difficult to keep up with a lot of friends. Like it's a really so I always try to tell my nieces, like, it's great to have a lot of friends, but it's a lot of work,
Hmm.
right? That
There's so much truth in what you're saying that it like gave me chills. Yes. And I, I think about this all the time too. How much when we make new friendships, like how much if we're going to invest in a relationship as a Libra rising, we are, I hate to use the word calculating, but I can't think of another word.
strategic.
Calculating, yeah,
Strategic.
all of the pieces of ourselves that we're going to lovingly give and thinking about balancing it and kind of like as a juggling act, bringing it in and now managing all of the relationships that we're already committed to. It can be a lot. And so similar to you, I have four really close friends that have spanned decades. Um, However, that Venus in Leo, um, and I have a stellium in Sag, so
Ooh,
I tend to make friends a lot of
and
places, and I love it, and it's a gift, and it's beautiful, but it also is overwhelming at times
mhm,
because I know I can't give all of myself to all of these new friendships, but it's to the
yeah,
point where my kids and my husband, like, if we are going somewhere, they're like, "Are we gonna have to talk to people?" And, like,
yes.
"Are you gonna run into people and then we're not gonna leave?" And I'm like, I don't know what's gonna happen. I can't make any promises.
I love it. And like that's and again, that's just such a expression of like when I re my first meeting with you, like how easy it was for you to just have all these conversations and all these fun games. And I'm like, that's you're so like fun and childlike and creative. And you know what I mean? Very Venus and Leo. And you could tell like that's where your purpose, like, we talk about our purpose in life. And I know, I don't know if you've I think you've been in Adam's master classes and what we have at Nightlight, where Dharma is, the first house, the fifth house, and the ninth house. And for us Libra risings, it's the air trine, right? So that's kind of what we come into this life to learn about ourselves, our purpose. And if you look at the first house, right, that purpose of, where as Libras, we're out there to connect and um, connect people too, right? Not just us relationships, but oh my gosh, you need to meet so and so. You would be great. Da, 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 like
Yes.
connecting other people, right? And so for you, that need gets met on the 11th, right?
Mhm.
Where that's where your purpose feels so fulfilled for you. And I can see that when you do all your retreats, and I cannot wait till you have another retreat. Because I'm needing a retreat. Like I know we have Adam's retreat and then you're gonna have retreats. But that is like such your energy, and I see that's kind of, and that's where you shine, right?
Yeah.
That's
Thank you.
yeah, in groups and all of that. So um yeah, I really do see that there's that connection, right? Where wherever that Venus is kind of helps that purpose as well for your rising sign and your
Exactly.
needs, right?
Ye I have a question about your Venus in a
Yeah.
second. So, with your, Libra rising, and Venus ruling your first house, in the second, how like, what are some of the most prominent ways for you that shows up? Like, cultivating inner skills and learning about yourself that feeds into your first, things like entrepreneurial efforts come to mind. So what are your favorite ways to live out the Venus in the second for you?
Oh, I love that question. Um, because we don't want to talk about like the obvious, right? Money and like our possessions, right? Um, I spoke about this before and it's very generic, but food.
Uh-huh.
I have this like I also have Sun conjunct Ceres, so I have this relationship with food that I love, right? Um, and so I'm very I also love to garden. Um, and because I was talking about food, I do have to throw this in. We were talking about, Libras being very indecisive, right? So please don't ever ask me what to eat or where to eat. And
Yes.
I'm telling you, like that's been one of the biggest. It's so simple, but it's one of the
It's
biggest
so
ways.
stressful. Yeah.
Don't, I can't. Can you just give me
Don't make me decide. Yeah.
okay, fine. Pick three restaurants and I'll pick one. But like that's just how I will. And so, yeah.
Yes.
So I really do see that, like on a day to day, like that screams to me. But okay, let's get away from the food and stuff. But um, I see it definitely how you mentioned like cultivating.
Mhm.
Um, I think, growing up we weren't. poor, but we weren't rich. I lived in Mexico for several years before we moved back to the US, and so there was a language barrier for me. And so there was a lot of things for me that I had to work hard for. I felt like everything I had to work hard for. And so because Venus is Mars ruled, right? And it's in Leo, um, I always wanted what others had. And I didn't have it. And so I always felt like I had to work hard to get something. I had to, and just learn how to provide for myself. Um, Obviously, my parents always gave me food, shelter, right? All of that. But obviously, I paid for college. My parents had helped me whatever they could. Here's some money.
Hmm.
But I knew that I had to go to college to build a life. There's no hand-me-downs. Like I had to work for it. Because I speak both Spanish and English. There was that other difficulty of cultivating things. And so I think that I've always been like, I've always had the idea that I had to provide for myself.
Hmm.
I don't know if that it makes any sense because this took me a long time to kind of, and I'm still trying to sort out my chart because it's kind of, a full house in the first and then the ruler in the
Yep.
second, in the 12th. It could be difficult to read my chart, but it's taken me some time to kind of break it down a little bit. So because I have that stellium in the first, there's so much focus on on the self and in reforming myself and reinventing myself
Hmm.
that kind of falls into where I have to do that. I've
Yes.
always had to, I worked for over 18 years in the mental health field. Um, and I stayed there, for many years, but I built that. I built within there. And now, I have my private practice. I'm more just focusing on the astrology and teaching. So I'm now building that on my own. So I think that there's just a lot of learning not to be codependent too and things like that.
Hmm.
And not focusing on the material world, right? Material things.
Hmm.
So yeah, I that's kind of how I've seen it.
Yeah.
It is the gate of Hades, right?
I have your chart. I keep looking down because I have your chart printed
Oh
out.
yeah, yeah, yeah. No, no, no worries. Yeah. I have mine on the side over here, so I
Yeah.
keep going like to the side.
Uh-huh.
But yeah, it definitely there's I think my entire life there's always been a focus on financial matters and money
Yeah.
since I was a little child. And so I think that until today,
Yeah.
right? But no, the
Yeah.
just like this I need to make like, so I
Hmm.
think that's but I think at the end of the day, when I really look deep down, it is about self-worth. And I think more so learning to love myself with what I have and not
Yes.
needing to build more or get more, right? And
Hmm. Absolutely. Yeah. And our own charts can be really strange sometimes. And then like in the middle of the night, you'll be like, I know what that means now. And I'm just like,
yeah,
oh, 5 years
yeah,
later, you know what I mean? I
yeah,
just think that's interesting. And Venus in Scorpio in the second house, sometimes I feel like I need to like think of all these fancy things, but at the most basic root, I just love what you said, learning to love myself. Like Venus there, loving all of the intensity and the beauty and the depth that
yeah.
comes from Scorpio in the second house.
Hmm.
And, Venus is challenged there, but swimming upstream and, building those muscles towards that compassionate heart center.
And one of the things, like for me, that I loved when we were dialoguing about this conversation, when you were talking about Virgo season and how both as Libra risings, we see the sun transiting Virgo very differently, right? Where as Libra, when we're now that we're in Libra season, how we experience that first house light up. And it really got me thinking as to what you were saying, how you love Virgo season.
Oh no, I do not love
Oh,
Virgo
you don't
season.
know. What was it that
Yeah.
you were saying? Okay, I misunderstood you. But
Yeah,
still,
well,
this was a great conversation. That
yeah. Well, what I was saying, because you had started talking about like when the sun moves through Libra, um, and that makes a lot more sense for this conversation. But as a Libra rising, I always tend to go first to protecting when the sun moves through Virgo, and here's why. Um, for many years, I've mentioned I'm a mom, so like it's back to school season. It's like let's get the schedule. Let's be busy. There's all these sports and activities and back to school night and the list goes on and on and on. And a lot of times for me, I usually shift a lot of my focus to being, with the kids a lot in the summer. So it's like I want to get like double down on my work or my writing projects or all these different things. And Virgo season had become this really intense, jam-packed, stressful time until the astrologer in me started really thinking, wait a minute, this is your 12th house. Like, this is a time that you need to protect. This is a time where you need to go inward. And this is a time that comes once a year and it can be this way or it can be this way. So I don't know if it was 1 or 2 years ago, I really tried to do it a little bit differently. And of course, it's still back to school season, but I also find like there's a lot of moms who are my friends in our circle too, and I notice this in myself and them too. Like we're all like, "Oh, let's get lunch, let's get coffee now that the kids are back." And of course, I want to catch up with my friends, but then it becomes this whole like socializing time where it really needs to be an inward time. So, for the past couple of years, I have like pared down to the least amount of obligations during Virgo season, to really try to kind of go inward, and appreciate the changing of the leaves and thinking about how I'm preparing for Libra season and not making it a time of expending so much energy because it's counterproductive to how the sun is transiting our chart as a Libra rising. So that's been my experience of Virgo season.
And I love that. And that's exactly like what I thought you had mentioned, but it got me thinking when you mentioned that, because I also, whenever the sun enters Virgo, immediately I want to go into my cave. I want to go in, the whole like Plato's cave. I want to go back
Yeah.
and retreat and less socializing. And so then for me, obviously it makes sense because I have a 12th house sun. So for me, it's coming back home. Like, yes, you need a retreat, girl, calm down. And so then I started thinking for you, because as a Libra rising, you are Cancer sun, your sun's in the 10th house. And so if you think about the sun during Libra season is when we're talking about when transits, where when's a really good time for renewal or for like self, like whatever, when there's transits going through your first house or your chart ruler, right? And so obviously the sun is vitality. And so it's, you know, when it's moving through Libra, it's going to look very different for every Libra rising, right? It's going to express beauty very differently, right? But there is that renewal of self, identity, and for you, if you think about it, the natal standpoint, like, so for me, that sun, once it's in Libra, I'm like, yes, I am so glad because I have a natal 12th house. I'm used to it, but I need to like, that's when I started making phone calls and started making, I'm like, oh yeah, we got to do this. And I started feeling a little bit more lively. Whereas for you, you're a Cancer sun. If you think about it, when it's entering, Virgo, it's coming up into crisis of action if we're looking at Dane Rudhyar's
Mhm.
cycle, right? Lunar cycle, where you have your sun at the top of your chart. So, like you said, in the summer, you're like going here and here. You guys were traveling, you guys were going to Europe, you guys had all these events for your kids and football. And so then um you're going, your sun, and it's all of a sudden it's like, whoa, like it's hitting. Let me see if I can pull this up. I'm just gonna pull up the transit of the chart that I had earlier today.
Okay.
Um, you can see it, right?
Yes.
This is just I at 8:37 a.m. It's a Libra rising chart, right? So right now that's kind of where the sun is, but for her, right? So it depends on where your sun is, but for her, her sun's up here. So if you think about it, you're feeling that um it's we're all feeling, all Libra risings are feeling it. But if you think about it for you with your actual vitality and the way your sun is, I was looking at that and I'm like, oh, that makes sense, that
Yeah.
um as soon as it hits Libra, it's doing that. Okay, crisis of action. Okay, this is all the stuff that was going, this is what you have to fix, right? And or
Yeah.
reach whatever, right?
Hmm.
So yeah, I just wanted to bring that up if in case anybody didn't uh
Yeah, there you
there we
are.
go. Yeah. Um
Yeah, I love hearing about like similarities, but also possibilities of how things show up uniquely for each of us. And whenever I teach workshops, this is different, but it made me think of it like I give out the charts, and a lot of people aren't familiar with astrology. So I'm always like, okay, now look at the chart of the person who's next to you. And they're like, oh, wait, like they're not the same rising sign and it looks so different. And yes, like there's so many differences and so many
mhm.
possibilities. So it can be so refreshing to think about everything with the lens of Libra rising, but then, visually pull it in all these directions
Mhm.
and see them dance.
Yeah, and I think too, like with anyone, but for you, like you have air rising, but your Venus is in fire, but you have a Cancer sun. So there's that you're constant you're the way you approach things and the way you move around the world is very in the external world and about others, where then your son's like, well, protect, retreat. There's that
Yes.
I need to go
Going
back
to
to
my
my
shell.
comfort. Yeah, go
Yeah.
into your shell. And so when the sun is transiting Virgo for you, it's you're starting to analyze all of that. Okay, yes, I need to go back into my shell because guess what? The sun's about to vitalize me and
Mhm.
hit up my Libra rising and my Venus, Leo. And so I think that's always important to look at how we come into this world with our Libra rising, right? And
Yeah.
not just the Venus, but our sun is what gives us that light. It's the plot, it's that vitality. So if as Libra risings, we have our social houses are in fire, right? First house, or I'm sorry, the third house,
Yep.
right, is on fire, and our seventh house of relationships and one-on-one, and then the 11th house. So naturally, as Libras, I think we're all gonna have this like need to socialize, and then yet we're gonna be pulled back,
Yep.
right?
The scales will tip. Yeah.
And for me, I'm curious to see, because for you, I know, like, do you feel that a lot? Because that Cancer sun really loves that comfort.
Oh
Like,
yeah. I feel it immensely, and I'm a yogi, a really dedicated yogi, and for decades now, and if I didn't have my yoga practice as an anchor in my life, like I always say I'm just as much an extrovert as I am an introvert. Like I love to be social. I love to go to parties. I'm happy to go to events where I know no one and just like talk to people. However, I can't do that exclusively. My max is 50% and I need to counter it with solitude, yoga, good food, cooking, all of that kind of stuff. Um, so once I figured out the equation, things became a lot more flowy in my life. Took a little bit of time, but now I can be a little rigid about it, which can also be challenging, but I have that third house moon and in Sag, and it really likes rhythm and routine, and I'm really good about being dedicated to my practices and things like that. So they really help keep me anchored so that I feel like because a lot of the work we do is service, right? We
yeah,
give ourselves to other people through hearing about their lives and hearing about their stories and sharing, all that we've studied with them through teaching and workshops and things like that. So the way that I can serve others, I can't do it if my cup is empty. So it just has to be a constant pattern of refilling, refueling, and then giving, and then again.
yeah, yeah. I think you're an ambivert, is what they call it.
Oh, I didn't know there was a
Yeah,
word for that.
yeah. When you're both, so like I present as extrovert, but I'm actually an introvert.
I
obviously. I have
was
a
gonna
12.
say the 12th house sun
I
really
oh
can
no,
kick in.
I am a homebody. Like I said, I don't like to go out and socialize. Like, I mean, I will if I need to, but because of that 12th house sun and that stellium in Libra, I do overcommit
Yeah.
sometimes and I do a lot and then but my the way I have to recharge, I recharge for like days.
Hmm.
Like days. Like it's not just like, oh, a few hours I need to just rest. Like I'm like I can't talk to anybody for for a while.
Yeah.
That's you know. But one of the things that you also mentioned that I loved is like, you know, how you two don't the decision making
Uh,
making movies, like,
yeah.
or not making movies, seeing movies, like what
Renting.
renting
Yeah.
movies
Back
or
in the day, my husband and I are both Libra risings. We've been together for a very long time. And when we had our first apartment, we lived across the street from Blockbuster Video, and we would be there constantly. And for two Libra risings to have to decide on what VHS to rent, it was really difficult. And I always think back about that whenever we have to make decisions now. And I kind of like laugh in my head. And I'm like, if we made it through that, like we can get through this. Like,
yeah,
what are we gonna have for dinner? My husband will say that to me all the time. I'm like, read the menu. Like I'm like a planner. Like I plan out the meals and I put them up, and if I've already, made the order, I'm not changing it this week. But
yeah,
people will be like, well, should we go out to dinner? Where should we go out? And I'm like, no, yeah, we're not
yeah,
gonna.
yeah,
And however, if it's presented in a way that's like, I really think we should go to this place at this time, then I'm a little more flexible. But it's the same thing like you were talking about, where should we go to eat? That just is really stressful for me. And then when two Libra risings are trying to make a decision, it can go on
yeah,
for a year.
yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, I can't even imagine on that. Okay, so one thing I'm really looking forward to is spending time with you and Aaron, because
As am I.
I we are going to be talking about the year 2026, and we'll be talking about the transits specifically only to Libra. We haven't really talked about the specifics yet, but it's going to be really fun. And just if you don't know, Erin is also another colleague of Nightlight. She is the teacher's assistant for the horror program, and I think Roots and Spheres as well. And who's also another Libra rising. So that should be fun.
Yeah, that'll definitely be fun.
Yeah.
I love her take on
And
stuff.
we'll make sure that that is for gets aired before 2026, maybe like November or December,
I
so
like that.
that do you have
All right.
any events coming up?
Okay, so I don't have any events coming up besides my annual retreat. Um, but hold on, I'm trying to make this full screen. I guess it will not. I don't have any events coming up other than my annual retreat, which you can click on the retreats tab up here.
Ah,
This is all about the last retreat. And then in December, I usually post the date and the details for the next one. I'm looking at February. I usually do it in the winter. So that's what I have up there right now. And then other existing things are, astrology consultations, retreat planning services, and I have a retreats book that I've been working on. Like it goes along the phases of the moon. The new moon phase is kind of like planting a seed and setting an intention, thinking about the why you might want to bring people together, whether through a retreat or a workshop. And this is really all rooted in like my passion for community, bringing people together. And I have experience, in events and convention planning and all of that. And I love my retreat work. So I kind of compiled all of my notes to help people, um, and be motivated and inspired to bring their skill sets to their local community. Because, we can all go to a retreat center, which I love traveling to Kripalu and different places. They're like my happy place. However, we can't always do that. And I think that I created the retreat that I now host annually inside of my community because I wanted that event to exist and no one else was hosting it. So I was like, I'm going to bring this because I would like it for myself, but I think other people would like it too. So that's what the book that I've written, I'm almost done, is really about, with like, whether you're a yoga teacher or an astrologer, or you do any other kind of service for people and you want to bring that to a workshop or like retreat space, I kind of help you with ideas on and logistics and how to do that. So that's kind of in there. The book is not available yet. But
Yet.
if you're going to sign up for my newsletter, I'll keep you posted. And then if you scroll down here, downloadable workshop is on my website. And if you click on here, the description is here. It's 100 minutes of classroom learning. We go into some basic Hellenistic techniques, and then we really do some deep dives on the charts of some creatives. And then in addition to this, once you get like the link to download the video, you get a downloadable Sun, Moon, and Rising workbook that I wrote exclusively for this course. I give it out when I do it in person. There's different worksheets in here. And then I have the agenda all listed down here, so you can take a look at that. It's really good for quick learning beginners, but also experienced students, I think, would find this content worthwhile as well. So that's right on my homepage.
I love it. And that's such a great price too.
Thank you.
Definitely. Yeah. Um, I know you do so many in-person events, so that's definitely good to look out for. And I feel like I heard that you're working also on a Libra Rising workbook that's kind of in the background, maybe,
I
right? For maybe
am.
like possible PDFs. So I think it's important to uh, keep that open, or keep your ears open, I should say, for that. And just, to wrap up, this was seriously so much fun. I knew it was going to be so much fun with you because we always have, such a great conversation. But I think if I can leave anyone with something, is that I think being a Libra rising, what's something that's important is, as to how we move in this world, is to learn to find harmony without losing ourselves. I think that as we're navigating that, and yeah, finding beauty and the people pleasing, and again, it's not people pleasing, but it's measuring things out, and you know, making sure things are balanced, but they're also internally balanced. So, yeah, how about you? What's
I love that.
one little
I,
last Libra evergreen thing you can
there's so
say?
many.
I know.
I think for me, since I'm such a forward looking individual, inspiration and support of others, and also, how we talk to ourselves is really important, support for our inner world. So just never stop seeking. Even idealism may take on a negative connotation, but you have to shoot for the stars to, land somewhere good. So I think keep your eyes focused on the future and keep building those beautiful structures, keep making the art, and keep building community and bringing people together, because these are the skills of natural skills of Libra risings that make the world a better place.
Oh, I love that. And I would love to hear if there's any other Libra risings, what part of this conversation hit home for you? What resonated? Because there's so many, I think that we're constantly learning, and there's so many things that I also learn, right, by other Libra risings and how they see things. And I'm looking forward to speaking with you again, and as we're going to talk about the transits for 2026. Not sure if they'll be our favorite transits, but we'll just talk about all like the best transits that will be, and what to look for as Libra risings. And we'll do that with Erin. So,
Sounds good. This was so much
yeah,
fun, Erica.
this was
Thank you
so
so
much
much.
fun. Yay, I'm so glad we did this.
Me too.
Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Bye.
Bye.